I pulled up to the charming craftsman-style bungalow in Ballard, my 10-year-old Civic looking decidedly out of place among the Teslas and BMWs lining the street. The real estate agent, Christine, greeted me with a warm smile that didn't quite mask her surprise at my car. "Rachel. So glad you could make it. The sellers just accepted your offer this morning." My heart soared. After months of searching, I'd finally found it. The house had everything I'd dreamed of: original hardwood floors, a cozy reading nook by the bay window, and a backyard perfect for the garden I'd always wanted. At one point, $2 million. It was a stretch for anyone, but especially for a fifth-grade teacher in Seattle. Or so everyone assumed. "I'm thrilled," I said, following Christine inside. "When can we move forward with closing?" "Well, that's what I wanted to discuss. You mentioned you'd be paying cash." "That's right." Christine's eyebrows rose slightly. "That's unusual. Most buyers in your position would need a mortgage. I just want to make sure you're working with a good lender if you need one. I have recommendations." "I appreciate that, but I won't need financing." She studied me for a moment, taking in my worn jeans and Target sweater. I was used to this look. People saw my sensible car, my modest clothing, my teacher's salary, and made assumptions. I never bothered to correct them. The truth was, I could afford this house 10 times over. My grandmother Patricia had passed away 3 years ago, leaving me with a trust fund worth several $1,000,000 and an investment portfolio that had only grown since. But I'd never told anyone outside my financial advisor. Not my parents, not my siblings, not even my fiancé James knew the full extent of it. He knew I had some inheritance enough to contribute equally to our future, but not the real numbers. I had my reasons. Growing up, I'd watched my older sister Victoria and younger brother Derek compete constantly for our parents' approval, measuring success in salary figures and job titles. Victoria was a corporate lawyer pulling in $300K a year, and she never let anyone forget it. Derek had followed Dad into real estate, already listing multi-million-dollar homes at 26. Meanwhile, I'd chosen teaching because I loved it, because I wanted to make a difference, not because it paid well. And they'd never let me forget it. Every family dinner became an opportunity for subtle digs. "How's the teaching thing going, Rachel? Still living in that tiny apartment?" Victoria would ask, sipping her expensive wine. Derek would chime in with unsolicited advice about real careers and financial stability. Even Mom and Dad would exchange worried glances, as if my life choices were a source of constant concern. So I'd kept quiet about Grandma Patricia's gift. She'd understood me in a way my parents never had. Money, she'd told me once, isn't about showing off. It's about freedom. The freedom to live the life you choose, not the one others expect. She'd made me promise to use it wisely, to live authentically, and to never let it change who I was. That evening, I met James at our favorite Thai restaurant to celebrate. He was excited but cautious. "Are you sure about this, Rach? It's a big step." "I'm sure. It's perfect for us. But Ballard prices are insane. Even with both our savings." "James, I told you. I've got this covered. Grandma's inheritance was more than enough." He squeezed my hand. "I just don't want you to strain yourself. We could look at something smaller, more affordable. This is what I want. What we want. Trust me." He smiled. "Always." What I didn't anticipate was my mother's reaction when I casually mentioned the house purchase at Sunday dinner the next week. "You bought a house?" Mom Barbara nearly choked on her water. "In Ballard? By yourself?" "Well, James and I together, but I'm handling the purchase since." "Rachel and Mitchell, are you out of your mind?" Dad Richard set down his fork with a sharp clink. "Do you have any idea what houses cost in that neighborhood?" "I do. Actually. That's why This is exactly what I was afraid of," Victoria interrupted, her lawyer voice in full effect. "You're living in a fantasy world. Teachers make what, $60,000 a year? You can't afford $1 million house." "I'm not getting a mortgage," I said calmly. "I'm paying cash." The table fell silent. Derek laughed first. "Cash? You? Rachel, come on. Be serious." "I am serious." "From what?" Victoria demanded. "Did you rob a bank? Max out credit cards? Please tell me you're not doing something illegal." "Of course not. I told you, Grandma left me. We all got inheritance from Grandma. Mom cut in, her voice tight. It wasn't that much. Certainly not enough to buy a house in Ballard. I bit my tongue. The truth was, Grandma had left different amounts to each of us. Victoria and Derek had received $50,000 each. I'd received substantially more, along with her entire investment portfolio. But she'd asked me not to flaunt it, and I'd honored that request. I've been saving and investing carefully, I said instead. Dad shook his head. Rachel, sweetheart, I know you think you can do this, but you're not thinking clearly. Houses need maintenance, property taxes are astronomical, and what if something goes wrong? You'll be house poor within a year. Dad, I've done the math. Have you? Victoria pulled out her phone. Because I'm looking at Ballard real estate right now, and the cheapest houses are starting at $900K. For a teacher's salary, that's financial suicide. Maybe we should help her, Mom said, turning to Dad. Co-sign on a loan? Or, I don't need a co-sign. I don't need a loan. I'm buying the house outright. With what money? Derek pressed. Rachel, I'm in real estate. I know what you'd need to qualify for a mortgage on a property like that. Unless you've got $250K sitting in your bank account, there's no way any lender will approve you. I took a deep breath. I'm not getting approved by a lender because I'm not getting a mortgage. I'm paying cash. The paperwork is already submitted. The silence that followed was deafening. This is a mistake, Dad finally said. A huge mistake. You're going to lose everything. Richard's right, Mom added. Honey, I think you need to slow down and really think about this. Maybe talk to a financial advisor. I have a financial advisor. Victoria scoffed. Sure you do. Let me guess, some guy at your bank who sells you mutual funds? I didn't respond. My advisor was actually one of the top private wealth managers in Seattle, but explaining that would only lead to more questions I wasn't ready to answer. The dinner ended badly. As James and I left, I could hear my family already discussing me like I wasn't there. She's always been impulsive, Victoria said. Remember when she insisted on majoring in education instead of something practical? Derek added. We need to do something, Mom's worried voice drifted out. Before she ruins her life. In the car, James was quiet. Finally, he spoke. Your family really doesn't think much of your judgment, do they? They think they're protecting me. By assuming you're an idiot. I didn't have an answer for that. The next morning, I was in the middle of a lesson on fractions when my phone buzzed with a text from Christine, the real estate agent. Call me as soon as possible. Issue with your purchase. My stomach dropped. During my lunch break, I called her back. Rachel, I don't know how to tell you this, but I got a very strange call this morning. Strange how? From your father. He wanted to know if you'd submitted an earnest money deposit yet. What? He said he was concerned about your financial situation and wanted to make sure you weren't getting in over your head. Then, and this is the really awkward part, he asked if there was any way to pause the transaction. I felt heat rising to my face. He what? He said he wanted to help you, that maybe you needed time to reconsider. Rachel, I explained that the sellers had already accepted your offer and you'd submitted all paperwork. But then, she hesitated. Then what? Your brother called. Derek. He said he's a real estate agent and wanted to discuss your financing. He seemed to think you weren't qualified for the purchase. Christine, I submitted proof of funds. You verified everything. I know. That's what I told him. But Rachel. Another pause. About an hour ago, I got a call from your mother. She was asking about cancellation clauses and whether there would be penalties if you backed out. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My family was actively trying to sabotage my house purchase. They have no right. I completely agree. But there's more. Your mother asked for the contact information for your bank. She said she wanted to verify your financing situation before you made a terrible mistake. Did you give it to her? Of course not. But Rachel, this is highly unusual. I've never had a client's family interfere like this. I thanked Christine and hung up, my hands shaking. How dare they? This wasn't their decision. This wasn't their business. But I knew my family. When they thought they were right, they were relentless. Sure enough, that afternoon, I got a text from Mom. Family meeting tonight. 7 p.m. We need to discuss your situation. I didn't want to go. But I also knew that avoiding them would only make things worse. James offered to come with me. But I declined. This was something I needed to handle myself. When I arrived at my parents' sprawling Tudor-style home in Laurelhurst, everyone was already waiting. Mom and Dad sat on the couch, with Victoria and Derek flanking them like reinforcements. They'd clearly been talking about me before I arrived. "Rachel, sit down," Dad said, his tone serious. "We need to talk. About how you tried to interfere with my house purchase." "We're not interfering," Mom said. "We're trying to help you before you make a catastrophic mistake. The only mistake would be letting you continue down this path," Victoria added. "Do you have any idea how embarrassing this is? My little sister, a teacher, pretending she can afford $1 million house." "I'm not pretending. We called your bank," Dad interrupted. The room went cold. "You what?" "We spoke with a loan officer at Pacific Northwest Bank. We explained the situation, and they confirmed what we suspected. There's no way you can qualify for a mortgage on that property." I stared at him. "You called my bank? How did you even?" "We're your parents, Rachel. We have a right to make sure you're not making decisions that will destroy your financial future. You have no right to access my financial information." "We didn't access anything," Derek said smoothly. "We just asked some general questions. And Rachel, the numbers don't work. I ran the calculations myself. Even if you put down 20%, which I doubt you have, your monthly payments would be more than your entire salary. That's because I'm not getting a mortgage." "Right," Victoria said, her voice dripping with condescension. "You're paying cash. With money that doesn't exist." "It does exist." "Where?" Mom demanded. "Where is this magical pile of money?" "Rachel, we know Grandma didn't leave you enough for this. We all got the same inheritance." "No," I said quietly. "We didn't. That stopped them." "What are you talking about?" Victoria's voice was sharp. "Grandma left me more than she left you. Significantly more." "That's impossible," Derek said. "Why would she do that?" "Because she knew I wouldn't waste it trying to impress people." Victoria's face flushed red. "Are you saying we?" "I'm saying Grandma understood me. She knew I'd use her gift wisely, not as a status symbol." "Even if that were true," Dad said, clearly not believing me, "it still wouldn't be enough. Rachel, we're trying to help you. We've already contacted the seller's agent and explained that you're not in a position to complete this purchase." I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the hardwood floor. "You did what?" "We had to," Mom said. "Before you humiliated yourself and our entire family. Imagine when word gets out that you couldn't actually afford the house. That you overextended yourself so badly that." "I can afford it. I've already submitted proof of funds. The escrow is open. This sale is happening whether you like it or not." "No," Dad said firmly. "It's not. We've made it clear to everyone involved that you don't have our support on this decision. Any reputable institution will see the red flags and—" My phone rang. The caller ID showed Marcus Chen, Cascadia Private Wealth Management. "I need to take this," I said. "Rachel, we're in the middle of—" I answered the call and stepped into the hallway. "Miss Mitchell," Marcus's usually calm voice sounded concerned. "I apologize for calling outside business hours, but I received a very unusual inquiry this afternoon." My stomach sank. "Let me guess. From my family? From someone claiming to be your father?" "Yes. He was asking questions about your accounts and your ability to complete a real estate purchase. Of course, I couldn't discuss any specifics, but I wanted to make you aware." "What did you tell him?" "That due to privacy regulations, I couldn't confirm or deny any client relationships. However, he was quite insistent. He seemed to think you were making a financially irresponsible decision." I closed my eyes. This was worse than I thought. "Marcus, can you do me a favor? Can you call my real estate agent Christine Fan and confirm that I have sufficient funds to complete this purchase?" "Of course." "But Miss Mitchell, is everything all right? These family interference situations can be delicate." "Everything's fine. Just some misunderstandings that need clearing up." After I hung up, I returned to the living room. My family was deep in discussion, planning their next move. "And if we can't stop the sale directly, We can at least warn the sellers that she might default, Victoria was saying. I won't default, I said quietly. Rachel, be realistic, Mom pleaded. We love you, but you're in over your head. It's not too late to back out gracefully. We can tell people you changed your mind, that you decided to keep renting. No one needs to know about. And this. About what? About how my family went behind my back to try to sabotage me. We're not sabotaging you. Dad's voice rose. We're trying to save you from yourself. Do you have any idea what it's like watching you make these ridiculous decisions? First, choosing teaching over a real career. Then insisting on living in that tiny apartment instead of accepting our help. And now this? Pretending you can afford a lifestyle you clearly can't sustain? I'm not pretending anything. Then prove it, Victoria challenged. Show us your bank statements. Show us this alleged pile of money. Because right now, all we see is our baby sister having some kind of quarter-life crisis and making choices that will haunt her for decades. I don't need to prove anything to you. Yes, you do, Derek said. Because your choices affect all of us. When you fail, and you will fail, who do you think will have to bail you out? Who do you think will have to deal with the fallout when you lose the house and your credit is destroyed? That won't happen. It will. Mom was crying now. Sweetheart, please. Let us help you cancel this before it's too late. My phone buzzed. A text from Christine. Your wealth manager called. Everything checks out. Closing scheduled for next Friday. Congratulations. I held up my phone. The sale is proceeding. My financial advisor confirmed everything with the agent. In 1 week, I'll own that house. With what money? Victoria practically shouted. With my money. From Grandma. Stop lying. Derek stood up. There's no way Grandma left you enough to buy $1 million house. That would mean she left you at least. He paused, calculating 20 times what she left us. That's insane. Is it? I asked quietly. Is it really that insane to think Grandma saw something in me that she didn't see in you? The room went silent. She knew I wouldn't brag about it, I continued. She knew I wouldn't use it to feel superior to others. She knew I'd keep living my life exactly as I wanted to, working a job I loved, being with people I cared about, not chasing some arbitrary definition of success. You're delusional, Victoria said, but her voice wavered. Actually, a voice came from the doorway. She's telling the truth. We all turned. James stood there, holding his tablet. What are you doing here? I asked. You told me not to come, but I was worried. And he walked into the room, holding up the screen. I did something I probably shouldn't have. After dinner last week, I was curious, so I looked up property records. James, don't I started. Your grandmother owned 3 properties in the Seattle area when she died. This house, he gestured around us, which she left to your parents. A condo in Bellevue, which was sold and the proceeds split between Victoria and Derek. And a waterfront property on Mercer Island. He tapped the screen. That Mercer Island property sold 3 years ago for $4.2 million. The buyer was listed as a trust. The Patricia Chen Mitchell Family Trust, with one beneficiary, Rachel Ann Mitchell. The silence was deafening. That's not. Derek started. There's more, James continued, his voice gentle but firm. I also found corporate filings. That trust owns shares in 3 local companies, has a stake in a venture capital fund, and holds a diversified investment portfolio managed by Cascadia Private Wealth Management. Conservative estimate? Rachel's trust is worth somewhere between $8 and $10 million. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. Dad looked like he'd been slapped. Victoria and Derek just stared, their faces pale. But why didn't you tell us? Mom whispered. Because Grandma asked me not to, I said. Because she knew what would happen. This. Exactly this. You'd either treat me differently or you wouldn't believe me. She wanted me to have the freedom to live my life without anyone's opinions about what I should or shouldn't do with it. All this time, Dad said slowly, you let us think you were struggling, you let us worry. I never let you think anything. You assumed. You saw my job and my car and my apartment and decided that meant I needed your guidance, your concern, your interference. We were trying to help, Mom said weakly. Were you? Because it felt a lot like you were trying to control me. To push me toward the life you thought I should have, instead of the one I chose. Victoria finally found her voice. You made us look like fools. No. You made yourselves look like fools by assuming you knew better than me about my own life. My phone rang again. Marcus Chen. Miss Mitchell. I apologize for calling again, but there's been a development. I received a call from someone at Pacific Northwest Bank, your family's bank. I believe they were asking very specific questions about your account activity and your real estate transaction. I glanced at my family, and I informed them that not only are you not a client of their institution, but that any further inquiries would be considered harassment and possibly identity theft attempts. I hope that was appropriate. Very appropriate. Thank you, Marcus. After I hung up, I looked at my family. Here's what's going to happen. I'm buying the house. I'm closing next Friday. And from now on, my financial situation is none of your business, not because I'm hiding anything, but because I'm establishing boundaries that should have existed all along. Rachel, Mom reached for my hand, but I stepped back. I'm not angry. I'm disappointed. I thought my family would trust me, would support me, would at least give me the benefit of the doubt. Instead, you called my bank, contacted my real estate agent, tried to sabotage my purchase, and made it very clear that you think I'm incompetent. We don't think that, Dad said quickly. You do. You all do. And maybe that's partly my fault for not being more open. But Grandma warned me about this. She said money changes relationships, and she was right. But it's not the money that's the problem. It's the assumptions, the judgment, the inability to believe that I might actually know what I'm doing. I picked up my purse. I'll send you all an invitation to a housewarming party in a few weeks. You're welcome to come or not, that's your choice. But if you do come, I need you to understand something. This is my house, bought with my money, and I'm proud of it, not because of what it cost, but because it's exactly what I wanted, and I was able to get it on my own terms. James followed me to the car. As we pulled away, I could see my family standing in the window, still stunned. That was intense, he said. Yeah. Are you okay? I thought about it. Actually, I am. For the first time in years, I feel like I can breathe. Why didn't you tell me about all of it? Would it have changed anything between us? He considered this. No. But I would have let you pay for dinner more often. I laughed, and just like that, the tension broke. The next day, I received a text from Mom. Can we talk? Just the two of us? We met at a coffee shop near Green Lake. She looked tired, older than I remembered. I owe you an apology, she started. A big one. You do. Your father and I spent all night talking. About you, about Grandma, about how we've treated you. She wrapped her hands around her latte cup. I think we got so caught up in worrying about you that we forgot to actually listen to you. You didn't just worry, Mom. You actively tried to sabotage me. I know. Her voice cracked. I thought I was protecting you. But really, I was just scared. Scared of what? That you were making a mistake. That you'd lose everything. That we'd failed you somehow by not preparing you better for the real world. She looked up, eyes red. But I was wrong. You were prepared. You are prepared. Better than we ever gave you credit for. Grandma saw it. She did. And I'm ashamed that I didn't. She reached across the table. Rachel, I can't take back what we did. But I can promise to do better. To trust you. To support your decisions even when I don't understand them. What about Dad? Victoria and Derek? Your father is processing. He's not used to being wrong, especially about something this big. Victoria is embarrassed, I think. She built her whole identity around being the successful one. And learning that you've been quietly more successful than all of us. It's a lot for her ego to handle. And Derek? Mom smiled sadly. Derek is Derek. He's already trying to pitch you on investment properties you should buy. I couldn't help but laugh. I want to come to your housewarming, Mom said. I want to see this house that you chose, that you bought on your own. I want to be proud of you the way I should have been all along. I'd like that. She squeezed my hand. Grandma was right about you. She always said you had a quiet strength, that you knew who you were in a way most people never figure out. I should have listened to her. It's not too late to start. The closing went smoothly. Christine handed me the keys with a huge smile. I have to say, in 15 years of real estate, this is the most dramatic sale I've ever been part of. Sorry about that. Are you kidding? I'm going to dine out on this story for years. She winked. Off the record, of course. James and I walked through the empty house, our footsteps echoing on the hardwood floors. So, he said, now that all the drama is over, can we talk about something? What? Well, I did some math. If your trust is worth what those records suggest, and this house cost $1.2 million, James, you could have bought something a lot bigger. A lot fancier. I didn't want bigger or fancier. I wanted this. He pulled me close. That's what I love about you. You've had millions for years, and you still drive a Civic, still wear Target clothes, still chose to be a teacher because it makes you happy. Money doesn't define success. Grandma taught me that. She was a smart woman. She was. 2 weeks later, we hosted the housewarming party. I'd kept it small, close friends, James's family, and mine if they chose to come. Mom and Dad arrived first, carrying a beautiful houseplant. We wanted to get you something practical, Mom said. For your reading nook. Victoria came next, alone. Derek sends his regrets. He's at a showing. She handed me a bottle of wine. I'm sorry. For everything. I let my insecurities make me cruel to you, and that was wrong. Thank you for saying that. I also wanted you to know. I've been thinking a lot about what Grandma saw in you. And I think I'm starting to understand. You never let external measures define your worth. I did. We all did. And maybe that's something I need to work on. As the afternoon went on, I found Dad standing in the backyard, looking out at the garden space. Your grandmother would have loved this, he said quietly. She always wanted a garden but never had the time to maintain one. I know. That's part of why I fell in love with this house. He turned to me, and I was surprised to see tears in his eyes. I failed you, Rachel. I failed to see who you really are, what you're capable of. I let my own narrow definition of success blind me to yours. Dad, let me finish. He took a deep breath. When you were little, maybe 5 or 6, you told me you wanted to be a teacher. Do you remember what I said? I shook my head. I said, that's nice, honey, but what do you really want to be? As if teaching wasn't real enough, important enough, valuable enough, and I've been saying that same thing, in different ways, ever since. You were worried about me. I understand that. No, I was judging you. There's a difference. Your mother and I, Victoria and Derek, we all measured success by income and status. But you? You measured it by happiness, by impact, by staying true to yourself. And that takes more strength than anything we've ever done. He pulled me into a hug. I'm proud of you. Not because of this house or your inheritance, but because you've built a life that's authentically yours. That's real success. As the sun set over my new home, I stood on the back porch with James, watching our families mingle inside. Think they'll be okay? He asked. Eventually. It's going to take time for everyone to adjust to the new dynamic. What about you? Any regrets about keeping the secret so long? I thought about Grandma Patricia, about her wisdom and her trust in me. About the years I'd spent living simply, working hard, building relationships based on who I was rather than what I had. No regrets. I got to find out who really cared about me versus who cared about my money. I got to make choices without pressure or expectation. And I got to honor Grandma's wishes by living the way she hoped I would authentically. To authenticity, then, James raised his beer. To authenticity. Inside, I could hear laughter. Mom was telling a story, probably embarrassing, about my childhood. Victoria and one of James's sisters were discussing some legal case. Dad was examining the built-in bookshelves in the living room. This house wasn't just walls and floors and a beautiful garden. It was a declaration. A statement that I knew my own worth, that I trusted my own judgment, that I could build a life on my own terms. And maybe that was the real inheritance Grandma Patricia had left me, not the money, but the confidence to use it wisely, the strength to withstand judgment, and the wisdom to know that real wealth isn't measured in dollars but in living a life true to yourself. As I watched the evening unfold, surrounded by people who were learning to see me clearly for the first time, I felt something I hadn't felt in years around my family. Peace.